When we started out in this dark land, sundown first saw man on a quest for fire.
Quest for fire. Quest for fire.
And we watched and learned. Cooked food lit the land, rising up to stand, fulfilling the plan.
Quest for fire. Quest for fire.
Celebration of life.
The light from God is in our sight. Celebration of light. Wings of the days of men fly high. Celebration of light. Light lights the heart of all mankind.
Celebration of light. Ooh. Warm heart the home makes everything right. Celebration of light.
All gathered together, candles shine bright. Celebration of light. They took quest for fire, 2 rocks,
Quest for fire,
and made
quest for fire,
great light.
quest for fire,
And look
quest for fire,
around,
quest for fire,
everything
quest for fire.
so bright. Celebration of light. So that's why today we take time to pay tribute holiday, and we celebrate.
Quest for fire, quest for fire.
Light a candle at night, a menorah sight, Kanara so bright, solstice shining bright.
Quest for fire, quest for fire.
Celebration of light. The light from God is in our sight. Celebration of light.
Wings of the days of men fly high.
Celebration of light.
Light warms the heart of all mankind.
Celebration of light.
Warm heart at home makes everything right.
Celebration of light. All gathered together, candles shine bright. Celebration of light. Congratulate.
Quest for fire,
Hands we shake.
celebrate,
Light a candle.
celebrate,
On the mantle.
celebrate,
Christmas toys.
celebrate,
Kwanzaa joy.
celebrate,
Hanukkah.
celebrate.
Light the oil. Celebration of light. So join us now and sing out loud. Hanukkah, say hooray. The solstice time on Kwanzaa shine, or early Christmas day. Oh, celebration of light.
Celebrate,
Yeah,
celebrate,
yeah,
warm and cozy,
yeah,
hydrate,
yeah,
Christmas morning,
yeah,
Kwanzaa too,
yeah,
Hanukkah,
yeah,
solstice view,
yeah,
celebrate,
yeah,
celebrate,
yeah,
warm and cozy,
yeah,
hydrate,
yeah, Christmas morning, yeah,
Kwanzaa too,
yeah,
Hanukkah,
yeah, solstice view, yeah.
Jumbo and hello, I'm Jetta LaRue of K LaRue, and we welcome you to Celebration of Light, a virtual program which is a community collaboration for our annual celebration of living legends among us with friends.
Thank you, Jetta. Hey, I'm Ann Cubbely. And most of us are celebrating virtually this year. And we decided to celebrate the light that shines in our many beautiful holidays and traditions. Oh, there we go. Here you go, Andre.
Thank you, Ann. And I'm Andre Keitt. And we, Ann, Jetta, and myself, we didn't want the fact that we couldn't get together this year to stop us from truly appreciating the beauty and happiness and friendship and ceremony and joy that we capture each year. So even when times seem dark, come along with us today as we delve into how other people, everybody has their celebration of light.
Jumbo, we give thanks and praises to still be here despite coronavirus. To say, Happy Holidays!
Hey, happy all the days.
Hey everybody, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, stay safe.
Hello, my name is Lauren Little, and I am an urban farmer and educator. And I just want to say, Happy Holidays! Yay!
Welcome to Celebration of Light. One of the poems that I wanted to do an excerpt from is James Weldon Johnson called The Creation, which really embraces where the light began. And God stepped out on space and he walked around and he said, I'm lonely. I'm gonna make me a world. And as far as the eye of God could see, darkness covered everything, blacker than 100 midnights down in a cypress swamp. And then God smiled and the light broke and darkness rolled up on one side while the light stood shining on the other. And God said, that's good. Then God took the light in his hand and he rolled it around in his hand until he made the sun. And he set that sun ablazing in the heaven. And with the light he had left from making the sun, he gathered it up into a shiny ball and he flung it against the darkness, spangling the night with moon and stars. Then down between the darkness and the light, God hurled the world. And God said, that's good. Then God himself stepped down with the sun on his right and the moon on his left and the stars clustered about his head. And God walked, and where he trod, his footsteps howled out the valleys and bulged up the mountains. Then God stopped and looked and saw that the earth was hot and barren. So God stepped over to the edge of the earth and spat out the seven seas. He clapped his hands and thunder rolled. He batted his eyes and lightning flashed. And the cooling waters came down. Those cooling waters above the earth came down. Then the little green grass sprouted. The little red flowers blossomed. The pine tree pointed his finger to the sky, and the oak spreaded her arms out wide. The lakes huddled down in the hollows of the ground, and the rivers ran down to the sea. Then God smiled again, and a rainbow appeared and cuddled itself about his shoulders. Then God raised his arm, and he waved his hand over the sea and over the land, and he said, bring forth, bring forth. And quicker than the hand of God could drop, fishes and fowls, beasts and birds swam the rivers and the lakes, roamed the forests and the woods, and split the air with their wings. And God said, that's good.
Hi, everyone. This is Dolores, and I would like to wish everyone a happy holidays from my family to yours. May God bless.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of our friends out there. Be safe, be well, and here's to 2021.
When I think of the holidays, I think of Thanksgiving. I think of things to be thankful and grateful for. My life, my health, my strength, my salvation, my family. I thank God for a roof over my head and clothes over my back. These are a few of my things that I am grateful for. Be blessed and be well.
Happy holidays from my home to yours.
Winter solstice is celebrated on December 21st for those of us in the northern hemisphere. It's the longest night and the shortest day of the year. After the winter solstice, days start becoming longer and nights shorter as spring approaches. Cultures around the world have long held feasts and celebrated holidays around the winter solstice. Fire and light are traditional symbols of celebrations held on the darkest day of the year. This annual astronomical event has inspired humans in many ways throughout history, and I've found some rituals and celebrations to share with you. Over 5,000 years ago, the farmers of Dunure, Ireland built the Newgrange Monument entirely out of stone. It is a passage tomb and was a place for spiritual rituals designed so that the winter solstice sunrise lights up the entrance and the passage all the way down to the inner chamber. Mazu is a stone cairn and passage grave in Orkney, Scotland, built 4,800 years ago, and this time the entrance to Mazu is aligned with the winter solstice sunset. Once a year, the sunset illuminates the tomb's entrance and interior. Stonehenge was built in Wiltshire, England, around the same time as Mazu, and for thousands of years the giant stones have marked the movements of the sun. Sunrise on the winter solstice is visible through the standing stones, and thousands gather at the site each year to watch the rebirth of the sun, with many playing trumpets and drums as it rises. An appreciation for nature's role in providing sustenance is significant in the way the Zuni people in New Mexico mark the winter solstice with an annual religious ceremony called Shilako. The 10-foot-high Shilako figures approach the village at dusk and perform a dance throughout the night to encourage the sun to make the days longer again so that the earth will get warmer and the crops will grow. Zunis are both giving thanks for the past harvest and seeking support from the spirit beings for the upcoming year. For the Hopi people, the winter solstice ceremony known as Soyal begins on the shortest day of the year and symbolizes the second phase of creation at the dawn of life. During this 16-day celebration, Hopi welcome Kuchinas, protective spirits who come down from the mountains, with singing, chanting, dancing, and prayers. The mountain spirits are believed to bring gifts and bounty for the year ahead. About 1,000 years ago in Peru, the Inca Empire paid homage to the sun god Inti at a celebration called Inti Raymi to honor the winter solstice, which marked the first day of the new year in the Inca calendar. Today, Inti Raymi is one of the largest festivals in all of South America. The celebrations include reenactments of the ancient rituals, as well as dancing, parades, community feast, and a circular harvest offering of plants and foods, giving thanks to Pachamama, Mother Nature. Ke ala polahuia a Kanaloa, the black glistening path of Kanaloa, is when the sun hits its farthest point south in the sky. Occurring in December's winter solstice, we Hawaiians ascend the summit atop Mauna Kea so that we can continue our traditional cultural practices. We strive to be in touch with the ancestors, to live in harmony with Papa, Earth Mother, and Wakia, Sky Father, with the hope that we may glean even the slightest understanding of the great mystery of our universe. Yalda Night is an ancient Persian festival celebrating the longest and darkest night of the year. On Shabi Yalda, which translates to Night of Birth, Iranians, Kurds, Afghans, Tajiks, and others celebrate the triumph of the sun god Mithra over darkness. Friends and family join in the making wishes, feasting on festive foods, and reading poetry. Some stay awake all night to rejoice in the moment when the sun rises, banishing evil and announcing the arrival of goodness. Dongyi is a 2,000-year-old Chinese celebration of the winter solstice. Dongyi, which means winter arrives, welcomes the return of longer days and the corresponding increase in positive energy in the year to come. People gather with their families and eat special foods for good health and good luck, such as rice balls, wontons, or dumplings. In Japan, Toji is the traditional winter solstice practice centered on starting the new year with health and good luck. This is a sacred time of the year for farmers who welcome the return of a sun that will nurture their crops after the long cold winter. Toji traditions include taking baths with yuzu fruit and eating nutrient-rich kabocha squash as ways to fight off winter illness. People burn wishes, walk through fire, and light bonfires to encourage the sun's return and to burn off the previous year. 1,200 years ago, the ancient Norsemen of Scandinavia celebrated Yule from the winter solstice through January. The Feast of Yule lasted for 12 days, celebrating the rebirth of the sun and giving rise to the custom of burning a Yule log. Fathers and sons would bring home a large log and set one end of this log on fire. The people would feast until the log burned out, to cleanse the air of the previous year's events and to usher in the spring. During the winter solstice, ancient Romans celebrated Saturnalia in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture. Saturnalia was a hedonistic time when food and drink were plentiful, and the normal Roman social order was turned upside down. Before Christianity was brought to Guatemala, the indigenous Mayan people honored their sun god during the winter solstice. And now, Christianity and Mayan traditions blend together for Guatemala's unique Fiesta de Santo Tomas. Through colorful pageantry, brightly colored masks, dancing, and celebratory music, the week-long feast honors Saint Tomas the Apostle, as well as the Mayan sun god. One of the most unique parts of the celebration is a ritual called Paulo Volador, in which brave men climb to the top of a 50-foot pole, attach their legs to a rope, and jump. If they land on their feet, it's believed that the sun god will be pleased and return. Hogmanay in Scotland has its roots in the ancient Norse celebration of winter solstice. Today, Hogmanay is celebrated on New Year's Eve and has many interesting traditions, including fire. The annual torchlight procession pays homage to this history, with thousands marching through the city center carrying blazing torches. And then there are fireballs, as well as bonfires, and to top it all off, spectacular fireworks. Burning the Clocks Festival is a contemporary winter solstice celebration conceived in Brighton, England, in 1994 as a community event to be enjoyed regardless of faith. Around 20,000 spectators turn up to witness the procession of light, which consists of a parade of luminous willow lanterns that are passed into a blazing bonfire. The event concludes with a huge fire show and firework display that lights up the seafront. The winter solstice is my favorite day of the year. It is a miraculous occurrence when the days stop getting shorter and start getting longer. My love of the winter solstice is what inspired me to build the solstice puppet who closes the nightfall performance every year with light and hope for the year to come.
Happy holidays. Spread the love, increase the joy, and may you always and forever find your peace. Happy holidays and take care.
God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Happy holidays to you.
Hey everybody, I hope that you are staying healthy, staying safe, and most of all, enjoying what you can of these holidays. So happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, all those beautiful things. Whatever you are celebrating that's bringing people together and focusing on assuring positive vibes for 2021. Happy holidays from me, Layal Marie, and the Sayas family.
Happy holidays from my home to yours.
Dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. I like that song, and kids like that song too, especially Jewish kids who are celebrating Hanukkah get to sing that song, or anybody can sing that song during the celebration of Hanukkah each year. And the dreidel song is a wonderful song to sing and to play that game. Well, I tell you, not only do the kids play that game, but they also get a chance to get presents and gifts. And that's something that didn't happen in the very beginning when Hanukkah was first being celebrated. But kids started seeing that at Christmas time, other kids were getting gifts and presents, and they wanted to have some of that too. So people like you and I, the adults in the situation, decided that if we wanted to draw more kids into celebrating Hanukkah, that we would incorporate some things that would entice them to do so. And that happens to be presents. So kids get presents for Hanukkah now. And when you see decorations for Hanukkah, you'll see people using the colors blue and white. Those are the two prevalent colors that are used during that particular time to celebrate Hanukkah. Hanukkah is celebrated at different times each year. We can't say like we say with other holidays on Christmas and Thanksgiving that those holidays are celebrated on this Thursday or that Thursday, because Hanukkah is celebrated based upon the Hebrew calendar and not the Gregorian calendar that the rest of us use. So just look out each year for when Hanukkah will be celebrated. It often overlaps with other celebrations, but check those celebrations of light out when you look at your calendar to find out when Hanukkah is celebrated. But know that Hanukkah started all because of a controversy. There was a Syrian king who decided that, he didn't want to have the temples filled with Jewish any kind of ceremonies that they were having, any kind of candle holders, anything that was Jewish. To that Syrian king, he didn't want to have it. He wanted to have all Syrian idols and candle holders and what have you there. So what he did was made sure that all of the temples were either destroyed or that anything that had to do with the Jewish religion was removed from it. Well, Judah Maccabee and his family and followers, they weren't happy with this. So way back a long time ago, they went into a temple and they took it over. They blockaded themselves inside, and they were surprised when they saw that the temple was basically destroyed and all of the candle holders and any other things that represented the Jewish religion were removed. So in rebellion, they replaced all of the Syrian objects for the Jewish objects like the menorah and other things. And when they lit the menorah, they only had enough oil while they were in protest, locked up for one night. But magically, miraculously, the oil burned and burned and burned, and it lasted 8 nights, 8 days and 8 nights. And that was a big thing. That told Judah Maccabee and his family and the rest of his people, that told them it was a sign that God was on their side.
Hey Grockites, today we're gonna grok Hanukkah. Hanukkah's a Jewish holiday that happens every winter. Because Jewish people use a lunar calendar as opposed to a solar Gregorian calendar, which most of the world uses, the holiday tends to shift around. But just know that Hanukkah happens in the winter, okay? Okay. This year, Hanukkah starts on my birthday. What? People have a lot of misconceptions about Hanukkah, so here's a little quiz to help you figure it all out. Take the quiz and prepare to impress your Jewish and Gentile friends and family. Number 1, Hanukkah is Jewish Christmas. False! Since Hanukkah tends to fall right around Christmas, a lot of people think that it's the Jewish equivalent of Christmas. And it is a holiday with rituals and traditions, but it's actually not Jewish Christmas. Christmas celebrates Jesus being born in a manger, and because Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God, it's a huge deal. It's the basis for redemption and salvation for millions of Christians all over the world. Hanukkah is about a group of Jews called the Maccabees defeating the Seleucid army in the 2nd century BCE, and it's detailed in the Apocrypha, not the Old Testament. It's also about a miracle where this oil that was supposed to last for 1 day lasted 8 days. And it's about defeating oppression and religious freedom and believing that what you believe in is worth your life. That's Hanukkah. It's not Jewish Christmas. Number 2, true or false? Hanukkah is a really big deal. False. I mean, it is, but it also isn't, technically speaking. You see, Jewish holidays are divided up into major holidays and minor holidays. Major holidays are things like Passover, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and some other really awesome holidays that you may have never heard of, like Sukkot and Shavuos. On major holidays, we refrain from things like using electricity, driving, writing, or working. But on minor holidays, you can drive, you can write, you can work, you can use electricity, because they're minor holidays. But Hanukkah's still fun, even though it's minor. We love Hanukkah. Woo! Minor holiday. Hanukkah. Number 3, Hanukkah involves tons of presents. 8 nights of presents. Guess what? False. Don't you get presents? You're probably thinking, I know Jews who get presents every night. Why don't you like presents? Everybody likes presents. Why don't you like presents? We like of course we like presents. Everybody likes presents. And a lot of families, you get things like pajamas, calendars, stickers, socks, chocolate coins, dreidels. It's just that Hanukkah's about so much more than the presents. It's about finding light in darkness. It's about facing adversity. It's about fighting for what you believe. It's also about lots of awesome Hanukkah jewelry. What? But mostly it's about those other things. Number 4, Jews eat super unhealthy food for 8 days of Hanukkah. True. Because the story of Hanukkah revolves around oil, we basically eat tons of food fried in oil. Like latkes or potato pancakes, they're these potato onion fritters, and they're amazingly delicious with sour cream or applesauce, or if you're in my family, ketchup. That's right, we eat them with ketchup because they're like glorified hash browns. Deal with it. We also eat jelly donuts fried in oil, or you can also make them without jelly like we do in my family. It's basically an 8-day festival of oily goodness. Yum! Number 5. Jews spin little spinning tops on Hanukkah. Oh yes we do. We do. Go dreidel. A dreidel is a 4-sided top that we play with at Hanukkah. And each side represents a letter that makes up a sentence, and it also represents an action that you take in the game of dreidel. It's a lot more fun than it sounds, I promise. The sentence that the dreidel spells is Nes Gadol Haya Sham, which means a great miracle happened there. But if you're in Israel, the dreidels say Nes Gadol Haya Po, which means a great miracle happened here. Dreidel is so much fun that I have an extensive dreidel collection. Number 6, Jews light a menorah on Hanukkah. True, but also not specific enough, so false. Haha, I gotcha. Menorah is actually the Hebrew word for candelabra. It's a general word. Chanukiah is the specific word for the 8-branched menorah, or candelabra, that we light on Hanukkah. We light 1 candle every night, increasing the light each night so that by night 8, all 8 candles are lit. And yes, there is a 9th branch called the shamish, which is used to light all the others. For your information, a menorah, which is used on Israeli money and described in the Old Testament, is a 6-branched candelabra with a 7th in the middle to light the others.
So as I get ready to light the Hanukkah, another word for menorah, because it's going to be used for Hanukkah, I want to let you know that you load the candles on from my right to left. And when I'm going to light from left to right. And that means the first day of Hanukkah would be lit here on this first day. And in the middle, this middle candle is called the shamash. And the shamash is also a name for the helper or keeper calendar that some people use to light the other candles. And others, they light the whole candle holder or menorah or Hanukkah. They use another light to light everything, leaving the last one to be lit in the middle. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to leave the middle one, the shamash. And finally, the server or the helper. The traditional blessing over the Hanukkah lights or lightings starts with 3 different prayers. On the first day, you say 3 prayers. On the second, all the way out to the 8th day, only 2. Starting off with, Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy through your commandments and commands us to light the Hanukkah lights. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who performed miracles for our ancestors in their days at this season. And on the first night, you would include, Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this season. What a miracle the story of Hanukkah is. Like many other miracles that we hear about as we celebrate light. Remember how you load the Hanukkah up? Remember how some people use the middle candle or the shamash, the helper, to light the others, or make your decision as to how you want to do it. But make sure when you're celebrating Hanukkah that you remember the miracle in the temple that night when the oil lasted for actually 8 days and 8 nights. That is one truly miraculous celebration of light.
Greetings. Kwanzaa is a holiday based on 7 guiding principles.
We try to live the principles in our lives every day as a roadmap to success. Happy holidays!
I'm show queen and female illusionist Anya Belladonna, here to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. When I think about the holidays, I'm reminded of snowball fights with my cousins, Mariah Carey, and these candies Grandma always kept in her purse. No one even likes butterscotch, but she always had them in her purse. You know that bag we all try to throw away. It has a knot in the shoulder. It's raggedy and she just refuses to get rid of it. If you guys are lucky enough to still have your family and friends with us, make sure you reach out to them and tell them how much you love and appreciate them. Have a great holiday and enjoy yourself. Bye, and I love you.
Happy holidays, a nappy imaginary new year. Doesn't matter how you spin it, I love you anyway.
Keitt Kwanzaa, Asante Sana. Keitt Kwanzaa, Asante Sana. Keitt Kwanzaa, Asante Sana. Keitt Kwanzaa, Asante Sana. Ocha Uchima, Uchama Endia, Kumba Imani Kuchita Budia. Ocha Uchima, Uchama Endia, Kumba Imani Kuchita Budia. Keitt Kwanzaa, Uno Sama. Please join us in the 7 Wawusis
youth, we are so grateful for you joining us this evening.
You will recognize your sisters and brothers by the way they act and move throughout this world. They will be disciplined, full of wisdom and courage. Jumbo, I am Sister Bonnie Wood, 2013 living legend among us, wisdom keeper. Today's co-leader of this Kwanzaa ceremony, and a proud teacher of 48 years of the Hartford Public School System.
Now, it is a tradition to honor the eldest person in the room by asking them for permission to begin this celebration. And since Sister Flani is our elder, she will be representing for all of us. So I ask permission. Sister Flani, yes, do we have your permission to begin this celebration?
Yes, you may now begin Kwanzaa 2020.
The elder has spoken.
In many parts of Africa, libation is poured at the beginning of each celebration. We will now pour libation, asking our ancestors to bless this program. And also, after each statement, we ask that you join in and say with us, we give thanks and praises. Now begin. We give eternal thanks to our ancestors for not giving up. We give thanks and praises. We give eternal thanks to our ancestors for not developing a genocidal attitude and dying. We give thanks and praises. We give eternal thanks to our ancestors for their great strength and endurance. We give thanks and praises. We give eternal thanks to our ancestors for making it possible for us all being here. We give thanks and praises. We give thanks and praises. We give thanks and praises. Ashe.
Kwanzaa is a joyous African-American holiday. It's a celebration that's 7 days long. It begins on December 26th, ending on January 1st. This is done each year. The name Kwanzaa comes from an East African language, Swahili, which means first fruits of the harvest. At the end of the planting season, vegetables, yams, fruits are gathered. Families rejoice in the first fruits festival.
Ready for the festival, families decorate their homes with Kwanzaa symbols and red, black, and green, the Kwanzaa colors. If you notice on the table, there are statues that are there to represent the beauty of our community and the beautiful creativity of our people. There are 7 main symbols. First is the umkeka, straw mat on the table representing the traditions and culture of African people. Next thing is the umkeka, the umkeka, which is under the muhindi, which is the corn. The corn represents each child in the family. The stalk represents the father. The kernels represents the children. Along with the corn, fruits, yams, and nuts. These fruits and vegetables are called mazoa. Mazoa means crops. Zawadi is the homemade gifts given to children as rewards for their positive actions throughout the year. And children can give them too. Kikambe, cha umosha. The unity cup placed on the umkeka. 7 Kwanzaa candles are placed in the kanara, a wooden candle holder, which holds 1 black candle, 3 red candles as reminders of our struggles, and 3 green candles, which represents the motherland and remind us to always look toward the future for prosperity.
For each day of Kwanzaa, one candle is lit to celebrate the special principle. The 7 Kwanzaa principles are called Ubuntu Saba, which comes from the beliefs that are held by many families all over many parts of Africa. These beliefs help us to learn, achieve, and grow. Now join us as we demonstrate a Kwanzaa candle ceremony using some of the images from the book 7 Candles for Kwanzaa by Andrea Davis Pickney and Brian Pickney.
We'll use the black candle, which represents African descendant people, to light all of the principles. Because without the people, principles mean nothing. We must have put them in action in our lives. Each person, participation in the 7 Kwanzaa display.
On the first day of Kwanzaa, we light the black candle. This candle represents unity of the Black people in the spirit of togetherness. And we ask the question, Habaragani, which means, what's the news? And our response should be, Umoja, the first Kwanzaa principle.
Umoja, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
Now, on the second day, the greeting is Habaragani. Remember what it means? What's the news? And our response is the second principle of Kwanzaa, which is Kujijagalia, which means self-determination. The red candle is lit, and families learn traditions that help us to define ourselves, like braiding hair or learning how to draw.
Kujijagalia, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves, instead of being defined, named, created, and spoken for by others.
Now, when we ask Habaragani on the third day of Kwanzaa, our response should be Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We light our first green candle. This is a day when the family works together to get chores done, like stripping down an old chair and giving it a fresh coat of paint.
Ujima, to build and maintain our community together, and to make our sisters and brothers' problems our problems, and solve them together.
On the fourth day of Kwanzaa, when it dawns, it is time to celebrate Ujamaa, cooperative economics. For Ujamaa, we save up our coins for one whole year to get a family gift, like a clock that chimes or a mirror that everyone can use in the hallway. On Ujamaa Day, the second red candle is lit in the Kanara.
Ujamaa, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and profit from them.
Here is purpose. It is the 5th Kwanzaa principle. Now we light the second green candle to represent our plans for the future. Some of us may dream to be an astronaut, while others may dream of being a musician and plan what is needed to make our dreams come true.
Yeah, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness.
Now, we're on my favorite day, which is Kuumba, the 6th day of Kwanzaa. We celebrate the principle of creativity. Today, we make up dances and tell stories of our people who live in Africa and other dances, just for fun. The third red candle is set aglow in our Kanara.
Kuumba, to do our ways as much as we can, in the way that we can, to leave our community more beautiful than we inherited it.
Now we have come upon the 7th Kwanzaa principle. Faith is Imani. On the last means glorious feast with savory smells that fill the kitchen air.
Imani, to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle.
Let us now go and begin to practicing the 7 principles of Kwanzaa to make our community stronger and more unified in the spirit of Harambe, which means pulling together. At this time, Sister Flani will lead us in a song she wrote,
demonstrating the principle of Kuumba, creativity. This Kwanzaa light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This Kwanzaa light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This Kwanzaa light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. 7 principles, I'll let it shine. With determination and unity, I'm gonna let it shine. Determination, possibility, I'm gonna let it shine. Faith and purpose gives us dignity, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
one more time,
Let it shine, 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 let it shine.
We're so grateful for you being here with us. We want to close and say the 7 Harambe, which means pulling together. And after each principle said, you will then say Harambe. But before we begin that,
We're going to drink from the unity cup.
Yes.
As we drink or pretend to drink, each one of us will pledge to try to do it the best we can to exhibit the best 7 principles of Kwanzaa throughout the year. Starting with
Umoja. Harambe.
Kujichagulia. Harambe.
Jima.
Harambe.
Come on, join us.
Ushama.
Put your hand up.
Harambe. Harambe. Kuumba. Harambe.
Now on the last one, which is the principle of faith called Imani, we're going to hold it as long as we can. Are you ready? Here we go. Imani.
Harambe.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jenna LaRue of Keitt LaRue and creator of Living Legends Among Us 2020, and my host,
Sister Flani Wood.
and our percussionist in the house, Brother Anara Ramin.
Have a prosperous
And wonderful 2021. We'll see you next
Remember the
year.
7 principles of Kwanzaa now.
Happy holidays, love, peace, joy. Anything else, ladies?
Yeah, we're twinning.
They're twinning. Happy holidays. They're so beautiful. Love you all.
Hi, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Kwanzaa. And remember, the true reason for the season is not all that. It's Amen.
Greetings and peace to you and all your loved ones.
It's Christmas in Connecticut. One of my favorite times of the year. I love Christmas. I go Christmas crazy. I'm buying all kinds of decorations, doing all the things that people do with the hustle and bustle of Christmas. And I try to remember that Jesus is the reason for the season, as my mother would say, and that I know what the Christmas season is about. It's the giving season. So I make sure that I keep myself nice and ready for Christmas. I enjoy it. I have a lot of Christmas stuff in my basement and just go overboard. And my favorite movie was has been Christmas in Connecticut. So that's why I started off with that. I know Daddy talked about Christmas in South Carolina when he was growing up. My dad is Willie. And he talked about the fact that Christmas was nothing like the way he brought us up, my sister, my brother, and I, to believe how Christmas was celebrated. He talked about how for Christmas, he was lucky and felt very fortunate when he got for Christmas one stocking that would have orange, maybe an apple, nuts, maybe some chocolate, maybe some candies in it. But that would be his whole entire Christmas. And it was a very humble upbringing and a very humble celebration of Christmas that I feel is something that is not a problem for us to go back to and look at and realize that it's not all about what you're getting and maybe what you're giving and what you put out there in the world during that season and even before and after. I try to tell kids when I talk to them about what the season is all about. They love to tell me when I come to visit your classrooms and to your libraries and do story times about what they got for Christmas. They can't wait to tell the storyteller, the Great Heart Griot, what they got. And they're a little bit stumped when I ask them, well, what did you give? What did you give for Christmas? Did you give the gift of light? Did you give the gift of love? I know my father's mother, she raised my father and a whole family of about 6 kids by herself. And she was a cook at a restaurant. And we loved to go to that restaurant. Christmas for us when we were little kids was going down south to Orangeburg, South Carolina, and visiting my grandmothers. Both of them were down there at the time, and going to the restaurant Berries on the Hill. And we would park in the back and wait for Mama Keitt to come out the back door because she would have so many goodies for us. She was a world famous cook. She was just a champion of cooking, and she made these little apple tarts with a little piece of apple in it and dough around it that was sugared and syrupy and sweet, and they were just big enough to just plop into your mouth real quick like that. We loved it. So Christmas was that for us. But Mama Keitt also made a delicious fruit cake. She baked a lot of cakes, but one of my favorites during the holiday was fruit cake. I know. You hear a lot of jokes about fruit cake. If you look at my tree right here, it's decorated with fruit on it, candied fruit. This is my sugar plum tree. And I have some lights on there too, but we didn't understand growing up all of the jokes about fruitcake. I would see commercials about it. People would talk about giving the eternal fruitcake to people because it was this petrified log of fruit and dough and just yuck. People talked about making the fruitcake and putting it as a doorstop. We heard all kinds of jokes, but I got to tell you, when I was a kid, I did not understand those jokes, because the goodness that came from my grandmother, Mama Keitt, my daddy's mama, that fruit cake was delicious. I don't know if it had anything to do with the brandy that she poured on top of it, but the fruit cake was just really, really good. It was nothing like what we saw in commercials and jokes that we heard in movies and stand-up acts about fruit cake. It was nothing like that at all. So I didn't even understand that growing up. Until when I did become a grown person, I did have some of that yucky, nasty fruitcake, and I didn't eat much of that at all because I would just stick to whatever I can get from my grandmother, Mama Keitt. Well, I also have another tradition of decorating just like crazy for Christmas in my place. And I call my place the Buddha Loft. And I have little events there. People come over, I have small gatherings, not big gatherings at all. So a few people come by and they love my decorations. And a few years ago when I was under the weather and after I had gotten out of the hospital, I'd been sick for a little bit, my friends surprised me. I came home and they had erected a 12-foot Christmas tree. It was pre-lit, and they left the decoration to me,
but the lights on it as we celebrated light that year were just magnificent. Just to look at it, the first time I looked at that tree, in my surprise, it was awe-inspiring. I jumped back and I looked at the tree, and I couldn't believe that they had done this for me. It truly, it touched my heart, and that's something that I'm never going to ever forget. The year that my good friends helped me celebrate light with this beautiful, beautiful 12-foot tree that I now adorn graciously every year that I possibly can. Now, this year I didn't do it. This year, because we're inside for COVID and we're trying to be socially distanced and responsible with society and our communities, I'm not going to have people over this year. So I'm going to celebrate light in a different kind of way, just with the small tree that I have here in the room that happens to be my bedroom. But I did want to have one in here just to have something this year for myself. The other decorations that I do, usually I put them up and meticulously with the Santa Clauses that I collect and the angels that I collect. I usually have those all over the place, and I make my dining room into a winter wonderland. But this year it's going to be a little bit different. Everything is scaled down real low, and I'm so glad that you're able to join me today as we talk about Christmas and the celebration of it, especially where Christmas trees came from and how Christmas trees weren't originally an American thought, but they came from someplace else that you might be surprised to hear about. The origins of the Christmas tree. Trees have long been used to decorate homes. Ancient Chinese, Hebrews, and Egyptians viewed evergreens as symbols of eternal life. European pagans decked the halls with evergreen branches, just to bring in life during the dark days of winter. But medieval Germans are credited with starting the Christmas tree tradition. They brought in fir trees inside on December 24th. That's right, on Christmas Eve. The trees were decorated with wafers, candles, and red apples. These paradise trees symbolize the Garden of Eden. 17th century German settlers brought the tradition to North America. The tradition didn't catch on with most Americans, however, not until Queen Victoria popularized it. In 1846, Victoria and her German husband, Prince Albert, put up a Christmas tree, an 8-feet-tall tree on a tabletop, and they decorated it with toys, candy, popcorn, and cakes. Once word spread, the popularity of Christmas trees took off. It became a tradition throughout England and North America. Now, they can be found all over the world. Hey, I'm glad that you had a chance to see that short video clip on where Christmas trees came from and caught me in the middle of looking at one of my favorite storybooks. It's a book by Cynthia Rylant, who is a prolific and wonderful, deep, richly inspirational writer. And this particular book is a book of collection of stories called The Children of Christmas. And they're not your normal stories about, Santa Clausy and, shopping. And they're stories about real people in real circumstances. And it seems like almost real time. And the story I want to tell you is called The Christmas Tree Man. And it goes like this. His house was far out, further out than you would imagine anybody living. It was a small, clean, white house, but it was a good enough house for a man who was all alone. Now, the man himself was small and skinny. He'd never married, and so he was all alone. He didn't know when he was growing up that he would end up living and being alone. As a boy, his name was Garnett Ash, and he lived with his family in a small town, not too big, and he went fishing, he played football, and he even camped out in his own backyard. But because he loved his family so much, he spent most of his time inside of the house with them, and he had very few friends. Well, each night when he went to sleep, he would hear their soft voices moving from room to room, and he enjoyed it. He was happy with that. But before Garnett Ash became a full-grown man, suddenly his parents died, and there he was. He was alone. And just as suddenly, he thought he didn't have a chance to grow up and actually find a wife. And with no family to bring the wife to, he suddenly realized that he didn't have a father to build a good, strong, sturdy kitchen table to give this wife. Suddenly he realized he didn't have a mother who would give his wife, his bride, fresh spring roses. As a matter of fact, he realized he was just alone. He couldn't stay in the house. He couldn't live in the town he grew up in. It just reminded him so much of his family that it was uncomfortable, and he eventually moved out. And he found this clean white house far out, further out than you would imagine anybody living. And he found an occupation for himself to keep him going for years. Garnett Ash became a Christmas tree man. Yeah, that's right. He would raise trees, small ones, until they got bigger, just like they were his children. And just like anything, his children made him happy and sometimes made him sad. There were short trees, lopsided trees, some that were strong like rocks, and some that were weak, trees that were too weak to try anymore. Sometimes he would drive his truck into town, and that's when he would pick up provisions that he would need. He would get kerosene, he would get food, he would buy little saplings to plant out in his tree farm. He lived each year like this all alone, only getting interaction when he went into town, most times. In March, when the purple crocuses pushed up through the snow, there he was, standing there, admiring them alone. In June, when a hornet's nest was built inside of the eaves of his white house up in the roof area, he would stand there worrying alone. In October, when the harvest moon was high in the sky and quite full and orange, he would stand in awe and admire it and whisper to it, alone. Garnett Ash spent a lot of time alone. He spent his birthday alone. He sat and ate his Thanksgiving alone. He watched every spring, every summer, every winter, and every fall alone. But in December, Garnett Ash was surrounded. Oh, yeah. You see, people were coming to the Christmas tree farm to see the Christmas tree man because they needed a Christmas tree. He would see them driving up in their brightly colored cars, blue, red, white, and he would see them disembark from the cars. He would see families, mother, father, sisters, brothers. They were in need of a Christmas tree, so they had to see him, the Christmas tree man. As a matter of fact, on December 1st, Garnet Ash, he was filled with anticipation, excitement. He trembled with it. Many people didn't know him as Garnet Nash at that time. They just simply knew about the Christmas tree man. And early in the mornings, he would go into the mirror and look at himself, and he would trim his beard and comb his eyebrows and even get his hair cut a little bit. And he would go and reach into his drawer where his socks and everything were, and he would bring forth his red reindeer scarf. He was prepared. He looked forward to the company. And when the families did come, they would say to him, "Nice day, isn't it? Wonderful time for Christmas tree shopping. Do you have a good crop this year?" And Garnet Ash, the Christmas tree man, would look at them proudly and smile and gesture to his field of trees and say, "I have a good crop." And the families would race down the rows and rows of Christmas trees. You could hear the crunching of their boots crunching down into the snow. You could see the air coming out of their nose and their mouths as they breathed excitedly to decide and figure out which one of the trees that they were going to pick, which one were they going to adopt and bring back home. They were very excited about this whole experience. And sometimes when a family couldn't figure out what they were going to do, which tree they wanted, maybe this one was too lopsided or leaned to the right a little bit too much, he would give them brown paper bags, warm, filled with chestnuts. And eating these chestnuts, they would think to themselves, well, maybe this tree that bends to the left a little bit is not so bad. And they would gather up the tree and get into their vehicle, a truck most likely, tie it to the back, and the family would get inside of the truck. And just as they were pulling off, Garnet Nash, the Christmas tree man, he would wave goodbye to them. And out of the back window, he would see a little boy. And that little boy looked like him. And the Christmas tree man's smile would slacken because it looked like he was waving goodbye to himself. And that made him a little sad because the people were going to be gone and he would be by himself again. And that would happen each day during the month of December until Christmas Eve. And on Christmas Eve, the cars would be few, far and in between. But some people would still come and on the last day and find a tree. But when that last car left, when that last family pulled away, Garnet Nash would wave and then find himself out in the middle of his Christmas tree farm with the moon shining bright over the whole scene, brightening up his wonderful children. He would walk down the rows and he would look at the trees that were left, and he would see that people left some of the trees they thought were ugly or too fat, too skinny, and he'd walk up to the ugliest tree and he would say, weren't pretty enough for him, eh? Too skinny? And he'd bend down and he'd take off his red reindeer scarf and he'd wrap it around the tree and he'd take it in the house, and that would be his Christmas tree. And as he decorated his own Christmas tree, Garnett Nash would sit and smile at the end of the tree selling season and think about how wonderful it was to be the Christmas tree man.
Habari Gani, Kuumba. That is my favorite of the Nguzo Sahaba. Creativity. Be sure and use yours.
Hello, this is Maurice D. Robertson, photographer, member of the Hartford Jazz Society, and longtime radio announcer volunteer at WWUH in West Hartford. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas, fruitful Kwanzaa, and a greater New Year.
From this day forward, have a happy, blessed, unified holiday season. Enjoy.
Hey you, come a little closer. Happy holiday!
Well, it's closing time, and we'd like to thank all of our special guests who brought their very special gifts with us today. I'd like to thank Mr. Inara Ramin, who helped us out with the drumming during Kwanzaa time, and Miss Flonnie Woods, who helped us out during that time too. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us tonight and sharing your light with us.
As we move forward, let us cherish the lights in our lives, and let's remember those lives that have departed in honoring our honored elders.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for being with us. Be blessed and good night.
Hey everybody, it's your boy Just Move Studios. Just want to say happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Thanksgiving, even though it already passed. But just be happy, man. Be happy. 'Tis the season to be happy. Y'all be safe out there, all right? One.
Hi everyone, we made it. We made it through one of the most challenging and trying years of most of our lives. Let's spread love this season and give thanks that you are here, because many aren't. I hope to see you in the new year. Happy holidays from Chantal.
When I think of the holidays, I think of life, love, happiness, and joy. But most importantly, I think of Kwanzaa and the 7 principles. One of my favorites is all of them. But today I want to speak on Nia, purpose. Know your purpose, ladies and gentlemen. You are the kings, queens, and goddesses of the world. Celebrate life. We've been through a lot, but we've always been through a lot. Look at our history. That's why it's your job to keep going strong, uplift, inspire, and empower. And most of all, enjoy these holidays with your loved ones and friends, but don't forget about those of us that may not be here. Peace and blessings. Happy holiday! Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa.
Now, more than ever, we need to celebrate each other and practice unity. Happy holidays to you and yours.
And look around, everything so bright, celebration of life. So that's why today we take time to pay tribute holiday, and we celebrate. Quench the fire, quench the fire. Light a candle at night, a menorah sight. Kanara so bright, solstice shining bright. Quench the fire, quench the fire. Celebration of light. The light from God is in our sight. Celebration
celebration of light. Wings of the days of men fly high, celebration of light. Light warms the heart of all mankind, celebration of light. Warm hearth at home makes everything right, celebration of light. All gathered together, candle shines bright, celebration of light.
Congratulate,
testify,
hands we shake,
celebrate,
light a candle,
celebrate,
on the mantle,
celebrate,
Christmas toys,
celebrate,
Kwanzaa joy,
celebrate,
Hanukkah,
celebrate,
light the oil, celebration of light. So join us now and sing out loud, Hanukkah say hooray. The solstice time on Kwanzaa shine, or early Christmas day. Oh, celebration of light.
celebrate,
Yeah,
celebrate,
yeah,
warm and cozy,
yeah,
activate,
yeah,
Christmas morning,
yeah,
Kwanzaa too,
yeah,
Hanukkah,
yeah,
solstice view,
yeah,
celebrate,
yeah,
celebrate,
yeah,
warm and cozy,
yeah,
activate,
Christmas morning, yeah,
Kwanzaa too,